Bolo Boxing Hour, brought to you by George Rogie and Shirts. We're here live at the Golden Leaf, 651, in over at the greatest souvenir shop this side of anywhere. This past weekend was definitely the weekend of upsets, just like March has. The luck of the Irish has totally skipped over Juan Diaz, Michael Katsidis, and Andy Lee.
Yeah, definitely over Andy Lee, him being an Irishman.
Yeah.
Very surprising upset here this week.
We'll be talking about that in just a second. Saturday night, Cabazon, California, lightweight action. Joel Casamayor, TKO victory in the 10th round over Michael Katsidis. He retains his world lightweight championship. That is the ring championship. That is the real linear belt. Casamayor moves up to 36-3-1 with 22 knockouts. Katsidis moves on down to 23-1 now with 20 knockouts.
Yeah, Katsidis I was very surprised actually with Casamayor showing his power. Katsidis never being knocked out before and actually being beat to a pulp many times with his face bloody and everything. I was very surprised that Casamayor could actually knock him out. I don't know, Katsidis gets knocked down right in the first round. I was like, oh man, I can't believe this is happening.
It sort of seemed like a flash knockdown. He was down.
He got rocked again though. He got knocked out.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was stunned. He had never been hit like that before. And it's not like Casamayor is a power puncher either. No. He doesn't throw pillows, but he's not known for power shots. All the more interesting that he
was like 36 or something. He's a very old 36.
He's 36, yeah.
It's a very old 36 though. I mean, he fought all those amateur fights. He seemed a lot older, but he seemed to step up for this fight though. And
he definitely did. He's probably tired. And they said, oh, well, he's got 9 mouths to feed at home. Well, he always has, and he still fights like he didn't care all that much.
It was a very clean fight from him.
Yes.
I was very surprised at that.
That alone should be the headline. He didn't cheat very much.
Very much.
He's usually a really filthy fighter. I mean, God bless him for putting the gloves on, and I'm not, but he does fight dirty. Actually, they were saying that Michael Katsidis was lowering the bar a little bit with some of his low blows and those type of things. So.
I think a lot of guys come in to fight with Casamayor and
you just assume that he's going to be cheating, so you start cheating, and then you look like an ass.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I'll let you say it. Go ahead.
They just figure he's going to be throwing the low blows and the headbutts and whatever he can get away with.
Yeah.
But he's pretty slick with it. A lot of times when he throws those low blows and stuff, the ref's out of position, and he knows it.
He knows where. I mean, half the time they're out of position. The other time, he puts himself in front of the ref, between the ref and the opponent, and throws on the side that the referee's not on.
Yeah.
Just slip a below the belt line shot any which way he can. But forget about the outcome for a second. This was just a great fight. You didn't know what was happening. There was no boring spots through this.
No, and Katsidis starts off very slow, gets behind on the points, and then through the middle of the fight, he comes back, fights his way back, where he's actually probably leading on most scorecards.
He had to be winning on the scorecard. Plus, he knocks him out of the ring.
Yeah.
Knocks him down onto the canvas on the other side. He stayed up on the apron, but so he still had a count of 10 to get back in. And he got back in. He didn't even look hurt. It sort of looked almost like more of a balance shot. When it happened so fast. I was like, whoa, he's got to be hurt.
Yeah.
And he did get banged around quite a bit the rest of the round because it happened. Like after the first minute, he still had a solid 2 minutes and some change.
Katsidis really knows how to turn his elbow up so he can get the power on those punches. Actually, I was talking to Jimmy about that. I go, is he doing that so he can slip that elbow through and catch an elbow, and maybe cut his fighter? He goes, no, you get a lot more power when you turn that elbow up like that, and that's what he does.
That's something a non-fighter like myself would not know about.
Yeah, you need to have that explained to you by a fighter or a trainer.
Yeah.
I mean, Teddy Atlas I've never heard Teddy Atlas talk about that.
Not necessarily, no.
No, he Teddy Atlas is usually pointing out the guy's weak points, so where you know where you can slip in and get a punch or not.
He's not that big on telling you what the guy is going to do.
Yeah.
Talks about what the guy should do and how he can keep from getting knocked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're right. But for Casamayor to come back from what was 4 or 5 straight rounds of losing to stun Katsidis and then knock him down and then get it stopped.
He rocked him. As soon as he went down, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah, well, he went down so hard.
Yeah.
It was like, can he get up? And he got up. He's bleeding. I mean, he had a very bad gash. He was
Yeah.
bleeding. It looked like a little mouth right over his eye.
But he's fought through that.
Yeah. The bleeding doesn't bother. You said that there are two guarantees. One is that Casamayor is going to cheat, and two, Katsinas is gonna bleed.
Yep.
And you were right on. You were more right on one.
Yeah.
Casamayor, for him,
That was a very clean
that
fight.
you're not going to fight a cleaner fight
match,
that he's in. You won't find a cleaner fight that he's in ever. Golden Boy has ideas of a Casamayor Diaz fight. I assume they're talking about Juan Diaz here. That's off of Dan Raphael's card here.
I don't understand why Casamayor wants to fight Juan Diaz. That you would think he'd want to fight somebody else. That, well, I get that they're all lightweight, so I guess that.
Yeah.
I would think he'd want to fight David or
Juan.
Well, Juan has.
Well, you got to get a belt.
Yeah.
If that's your goal, then yeah.
Well,
You got to fight Nate Campbell, or
Nate Campbell is who I would think he would want to fight. Nate Campbell was there ringside saying that they could set up the fight right now.
Actually jumped up on the apron. They didn't show him jump up, but they were explaining. All of a sudden, Casamayor goes crazy during the post-fight interview in the ring. Interesting that he didn't want to use HBO's translator either.
Yeah, he couldn't. Well, he actually said he couldn't understand him, but then the translator, I don't like Casamayor's translator because he puts words in Casamayor's mouth. He actually talks for him and says, "Well, we didn't want to take that fight." Well, what does he say? Not what you.
You're not the one being interviewed.
Yeah.
Be an interpreter if you're going to be an interpreter. Don't just talk.
Yeah, and
He wants to be the show.
and the HBO interpreter was actually still interpreting. For the HBO. What do you call it? Ringside announcer, commentator. Yeah. Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
But he still. I don't understand why he couldn't understand him. I don't understand that.
It didn't seem like he didn't understand him. It seemed like, I don't want to use your guy. I want to use this guy.
Yeah, I wanted a little help with him. He can help me with the interview. If I can't come up with quite the words, he can put words in my mouth.
Now, I don't know for sure. So don't go emailing and typing in a bunch of garbage.
Go ahead. I don't care if you email. Go ahead and send us some.
Send us as long as it's not against you.
As long as you're not kicking me in the ribs or nothing, all right.
No, if you disagree, then please do. But it's my understanding that someone that is a Spanish translator, interpreter, should be able to understand Cuban.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking German. They are Spanish dialects. For Casamayor, he heard the first 5 words from the HBO interpreter. It's, oh, no. And he looked over to his guy.
Yeah, it would be like a guy from Kentucky with his accent and me not understanding him. Kind of the same type of thing,
Yeah, it would be like a guy from Kentucky.
With the southern drawl, You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. One state down. You could go further south than that.
Well, I could go from Indiana. The people in southern Indiana actually have a southern drawl.
Yeah.
So they're
You're right.
dialect as well.
I'm going to let you off this hook now. I'm going to go to super middleweight action. Librado Andrade, TKO victory in the 8th round over Robert Stieglitz. This was a title eliminator because Andrade is looking to move on up and see where he lands. There's talk about Mikkel Kessler, but who knows what he wants to do.
Andrade has actually looked pretty good in his last few fights.
Oh, Andrade still only one loss, 27-1 with 21 knockouts. Stieglitz 31-2 with 19 knockouts. I love watching Librado Andrade fight.
Yeah, he's
I love it.
Slick boxer.
It's so powerful. He really does land really big power shots. But I don't know. He just looks old. I know he's not old. He's not even 30 yet, but he looks like an old man.
He doesn't look that old to me.
I look at him and I think, man, I said watch the stuff. Stupid. Junior lightweight action, Billy Dibb won a 10-round split decision over Edgar Vargas. I'm not even talking about that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know who either one of those guys are.
Middleweight, Daniel Jacobs won a TKO victory in the 1st round over Matt Palmer. Yeah, 4-0 took on 2-1. No, 3-0 took on 2-1. How is that noteworthy? That shouldn't even be on here. Shouldn't even be on here.
Should put an X through that.
I'm not reading that crap either. Saturday night, Dublin, Ireland. Yori Boy Campus still trucking on, still losing. Matthew Macklin won a 10-round unanimous decision over Yuri Boykampas, 98-95 on the scorecard. On the scorecard, because in the UK you only get one scorecard.
I believe it's actually the ref that does the scoring as well.
I couldn't tell you.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The ref does the scoring, but
The ref is the last guy that needs to be given a score.
He's got so much more to do, but nevertheless, Campos needs to retire. He's been in there for such a long time.
91-12 with 73 knockouts. He wants 100 wins. Well, he shouldn't be fighting guys like Matthew Macklin then. He needs to be fighting guys that he can beat. Friday night, Uncasville, Connecticut, middleweight action. Brian Vera, TKO victory in the 7th round over Andy Lee.
Yeah, we come into this fight. They're actually talking about Connecticut being upset in the NCAA tournament. Actually, throughout the whole night, bragging that they have all these undefeated fighters on Friday night fights. Andy Lee being the biggest name on that card, and as a lot of us figured, a lot of us didn't figure Andy Lee was gonna. We figured he was gonna end up getting the knockout himself, and Vera turns it around on him and lands a couple big punches and then attacks Andy Lee. And ends up getting the fight stopped.
Is it too early to call this contender for upset of the year?
Yeah, I definitely think it would be in there.
So it's not too early.
But it's very surprising that, well, it's not very surprising, but it's kind of odd that they don't bring up that every time a contender fighter loses, they're like, this is
oh, he's just a contender fighter.
This is what you get from a reality fighter to an actual contender.
Yeah. A real contender.
When a contender actually gets knocked out by a guy from the contender show, they don't bring that up.
No one wants to talk about the show now.
Yeah.
No, he's just a rugged veteran. He had the stuff, and he scored an upset. No one's talking about how a contender guy actually got something done.
Yeah, a reality TV show it proves that they can actually have a fighter develop after their show.
Alfonso Gomez smacked around Gotti, made him retire from the sport. Now, I'm not saying that one fight made him retire, but that was the fight that Gotti decided afterwards, nah, I think I'm done.
And nobody had heard of Alfonso Gomez before he was on the contender. So
it's not like the contender doesn't help. The contender definitely helps. It's can they be transplanted into championship situations?
Yeah.
And let that that superstardom actually flourish. And it's very rare that it happens because Sergio Mora can't do a thing.
No, he's yet the step
Manfredo can't do a thing. He's just listed. He can't even beat Jeff Lacey now.
Yeah, well, Lacey was always proven. Lacey had been proven here in the States that he was the top guy, and actually a lot of people picked him over Kessler. That's what put not Kessler over Calzaghe. That's what put Calzaghe on the map.
Not everyone, but a lot of people did.
Yeah.
That's my one great pick from that year. That was the one that got me over the hump. I just dug that fight so very, very much. I was totally expecting Andy Lee to turn it around at some point. I wasn't.
Yeah, I kept waiting and waiting.
When is he going to turn?
I'm still waiting.
Well, the fight's over, man. There's no reason to be waiting anymore. But man, I was really blown away by what I saw there. Brian Vera dug extra deep, deeper than I thought he even had in him, and really pulled out this victory. And I'm.
Let me ask you this: if you were Vera, would you give a rematch? I wouldn't.
I don't know. If I'm Vera, do I have enough clout? Even though I do have a win over Andy Lee, do I have enough clout on my own with just that one win to translate that into dollars for me? Because that's what boxing has become. It's not all that much anymore about dominance. It's about how much money can I make.
Well, the thing is, everybody would put him still as the underdog coming into that fight, and they would expect him to lose. And what would he gain if he beat him again? He wouldn't gain much. They would say, "Oh, he just beat him again."
He had his number.
Andy Lee cannot beat this guy. He might be able to beat everybody else, but he couldn't beat Vera.
Vernon Forrest knocked out Shane Mosley and gave Mosley a rematch and beat him a second time. So there's got to be a reason why you beat a fighter that no one thinks you can beat, and then you fight him a second time anyway. Tim, what do you got on that?
Well, the second time you fight them, you're going to get a bigger percentage of the purse.
So then it is about money.
It goes back to money. I mean, because in order to get the rematch, they're going to give you a bigger percentage of the purse. Therefore, that's why you're going to take it, because that's, I mean, if you beat them again, then it helps you then get your own star power to get another fight. So,
Thing is, Vera didn't get a belt in this case.
No.
He got huge bragging rights, and he got lifted around like Carlos Quintana over Paul Williams a couple months ago, which still has to be in the running for upset of the year. But this is right up there with it. I mean, who knows?
This is a little bit bigger upset than Quintana because Quintana's proven that he can upset guys before. You know, the only loss that he has is against Cotto, and who else has beat Cotto? No one.
You say who else has beaten Cotto? Nobody's ever beaten Cotto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you wouldn't expect Quintana. You would think Quintana would have gave a good fight, and he actually proved that he had a little bit of power, which he didn't have before. He changed his style up and actually got some weightlifting going on and a different diet, and proved that he could actually build a little power into his game, which I think helped him. Maybe he would have a good chance against Cotto now with that power, because he was landing some big punches against Cotto when he fought him.
Yeah.
He just wasn't hurting Cotto.
Yeah. Well, going back to Andy Lee against Brian Vera, you asked me, would I, if I were Brian Vera, issue the rematch to Andy Lee? I think I would. You're saying take the victory and run and see what it's worth across the street.
Yeah.
I say maybe get a bigger chunk of the purse next time, but you have the advantage now against a fighter that no one has ever had an advantage over before. You've got the psychological advantage. You knocked this guy out last time you fought. I think 2 wins is better than 1. You're not putting. I don't think you're putting enough value on 2 wins over a fighter. Vernon Forrest didn't do. See, Vernon. I brought up Vernon Forrest, and he's the one that's going to shoot me in the foot because he had 2 wins over Shane Mosley and couldn't translate it into anything.
Yeah, exactly.
What has he done with it? He's done nothing. Shane Mosley's the one that gets the shot against Zab Judah. Shane Mosley's the one that gets the shot against Miguel Cotto.
They're in different weight classes now, Mosley and.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, in relative terms, it's not like Vernon Forrest has translated it into any huge payday. He absolutely robbed Ike Quartet in their fight. That's the only other noteworthy fight that Vernon Forrest can say.
The only problem with Vernon Forrest is a lot of people look at him and say, well, he had that major shoulder injury, which hurt him in both those fights.
Which is not his fault.
Yeah.
Both those fights against Mayorga.
Yeah.
And Vernon Forrest is single-handedly responsible for us even knowing who Ricardo Mayorga is. So I thank him for that, because Mayorga is one of my favorites. But beyond that, and his 2 wins against Shane, which is by no means a devalued currency, what has he done? He hasn't done anything. And he's just getting older.
Yeah, but he's
going to get more desperate, and he's going to pull a Nate Campbell in about 4 years. You watch.
I think he's actually a step up from Nate Campbell. Nate Campbell has actually proven here recently that he was actually seemed like he was doing what Casimir does. Casimir waits for the big fights, and then he trains a little harder and steps up for those fights. Now that these guys actually both have belts, they need to make sure that they always step up to the plate and give us everything that they got.
If I'm Brian Vera, yes, I am giving a rematch, because I think only good things can come from that. If he loses to Andy Lee will not fight him a 3rd time.
That's the bad thing.
That is the bad thing, because there's no guarantee of a trilogy.
The only way there would be guaranteed a trilogy is say, I'll fight you again, but you have to put. If you beat me, we're gonna make this where we have the rubber match.
Yeah, rubber match clause. If such a thing
Andy Lee, I believe Andy Lee would sign that.
He would,
because he wants that. He wants
money.
to have that match.
Money.
Well, he has to prove that he can.
You don't
beat
want
this
that.
guy.
You don't want that question mark out there.
Yeah.
You have a win, but he has a win over you too. Let's do it. Let's see 3. So no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let's take a break, and we'll come right back with the upcoming fights desk, which looks very similar to the desk I'm sitting at now. But we will shift everything around in the room, and we'll make it look very different for you. This is your Bolo Punch Boxing Hour, brought to you by George Rogie Insurance, www.hssp.cc, sportsjuice.com.
Hi, this is Alfonso Gomez. You're listening to the Bolo Punch Boxing Hour on HSSP.cc. Save me a ringside seat.